Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Geraldine, and this is my Flosstube, all about primarily cross stitching, a few other crafty things. I wanted to film today to go over my plans for 2023 and do a quick little Flosstube on top of that. Thank you to everyone who has watched my whip parade and provided thoughts and feedback. It's had a lot of views so far. I'm actually quite surprised, so thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I've also gained a few subscribers. I'm getting really close to 200, so thank you to those of you who have stopped by and decided that you want more. I really enjoy doing this and connecting with the community, so thank you for being here. In an attempt to be somewhat efficient and limit the amount of editing I'm going to need to do later, I have lots of notes. So I want to talk about 2022 and my wrap up there, my plans for 2023, some goals that I have for 2023, my plans for Flosstube for the coming year, and then, like I said, a little bit of like finishes and whips update towards the end, a little bit of haul. So yeah, my name is X Stitches on Instagram. You can follow me there. I post fairly often my progress on whips and projects, and I'm participating in some stitch alongs and those kinds of things, so you'll be able to follow along through my Instagram. Okay, so 2022. I took a couple notes as a quick summary, and I started cross stitching in November of 2021. Like, I mean, I know how to cross stitch. I've cross stitched before, but primarily started like for real in 2021 in November. So in 2022, I had 17 finishes. Going into 2023, I have 17 whips, and I, based on, you know, thinking through my whip parade, if you watch that, I did put 3 projects in time out. So I'm not counting them as formal whips, but I haven't decided to abandon those yet. I participated in one online retreat. That was Frogwarts through the Black Needle Society. That was a blast. I won the Ravenclaw House Cup for the most points for the Ravenclaw House. So that was really fun and exciting, especially for my first year participating. It was the 3rd year of the retreat. And then I participated in the online event for the Jingle Ball, hosted by Lindy Stitches with the 12 designers. I did watch the videos for that. I shopped. I didn't have a ton of time that weekend to participate in any classes or any of the stitching rooms, but I am hopeful to be able to do that next year. So that was also very fun. I did participate in 24 hours of cross stitch. My record keeping, especially towards the beginning of the year, was not great. So that is weekends hosted by Jen Lee and her mom. They film videos throughout their 24 hours, and so the goal is, and people do it different, there's like team sleep and team, I don't know what the other team is, where they stay up for the full 24 hours, but the idea is within Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that you stitch for 24 hours total, or try to get there at least. So I do track my stitching for that. I have gotten there once and I think got close another time. So I did participate in that at least 2 times that I can remember. I might have tried to participate more often. I didn't have great records for that. And then I started my Flosstube in November, really around my cross stitch anniversary. And I have 6 videos up, not counting this one. And I did a whole 25 days, actually it was like 26 or 27 days of Flossmas. And those videos are all on my channel if you're interested in watching and catching up on that. So I did not log how many stitch alongs I did, but I did participate in some stitch alongs. Primarily the one that stands out is the Holiday Countdown Sal that was hosted by ModernFolkEmbroidery, Evertote, and Roxy Floss Co. All right, so let's talk about my 2023 plans. So as far as events go, I have 2 in-person retreats that I am signed up for and have planned. The first is Stitch North. I'm in week 1, so that's like I think the last weekend in April, and that is in a suburb just outside of Toronto, which for me is about a 5 or 6 hour drive, so not horrible. I'm very excited for that. I've heard really great things about that retreat. Lori Sykes and Rai McGuy, they both have videos, I believe, on their experiences from Stitch North. I'm sure there's others. Those are the two that I've watched and can remember. And then, like, my super amazing, I cannot wait retreat is Jacob Palooza in October. So Evertote is hosting Jacob in London, Ontario, the first and second weekend in October. I am going to the first weekend, which is also Canadian Thanksgiving. And he has 2 samplers that are a part of that retreat. I signed up for the Frisian sampler. It's a monster. It's huge. But I'm really excited about that. And I am planning on also getting the other project as a kit as well when that becomes available later this year. So, and London for me, I just went there for the Evertote open house. I think it was about 3.5 hours, not super far for me. I'm signed up for 2 online retreats this year. The Black Needle Society Spring and Stars Hollow. I did get that box. That is their 3 of 4 online retreats for that theme, the Gilmore Girls theme. I signed up for the box, but the retreat is the weekend that I'm going to Stitch North. I don't know how Stars Hollow works for Frogwarts. We actually started on Wednesday, so I might be able to participate early on, at least a little bit. I'll get my box. But I decided to sign up for the box because I wanted to stitch those projects eventually, and I liked some of the products that have come in the past boxes that I've purchased from the vault. I have year 1 pattern, and that was another reason for signing up for the boxes. I'll get year 3 in the box, but at some point in the next few months, I will have the opportunity to purchase the year 2 pattern so that I'll have all 3, and I'll just need to get the box for year 4. And then I am participating in Frogwarts again in July. I'm planning to sign up for that box. I think the sign up for those boxes will be soon. It usually goes out to previous retreat attendees, current box subscribers, and then to the general public. I got in last year through the general public release, and there were boxes. Like, I set an alarm and signed up right away. There were boxes available for a few weeks after. So if that's something that you're interested in, you should have the opportunity to sign up, and then you will also get the opportunity to buy past patterns once we get closer to the retreat. And so that's what I did. I bought year 1, which is available in the vault right now. Year 2 I got like in late April, early May. So I started year 1 and year 2, and then year 3 we got when the box came in June. I did a start along for year 3, and then I finished all 3 bands in the retreat. I am stitching them all together on one big piece of linen, so that there'll be one big sampler with all 7 years. And there is talk of the last year being, or like the year after all the books are over, that we might that Katie and Laura might host an in-person retreat to celebrate Frogwarts. So yeah, Frogwarts will keep me busy for about 2 or 3 weeks in July, getting all of that stitching done and prepping for the prompts and what things I can finish during the retreat, because that earns extra points. What pieces will work with the prompts, and can I prep them in a way to help me earn more points while I'm stitching in the stitching challenges. And then I plan on participating in various other, smaller opportunities as they come up. For example, Lindy has said she wants to do the Jingle Ball again. I'm for sure going to do that. 24 hours of cross stitch. There's a Facebook group for that as well. I forgot to mention that. So I need to look and see if Jen has posted the dates for 2023 and get those on my calendar. But I participate in those when I can. And then Caroline from Evertote, she mentioned in a recent Flosstube that she's looking at potentially early this spring doing a Biscornu workshop at the Evertote workshop. So I want to try and go to that depending on how it falls with when it is, if anything personal going on that it might conflict with, and then also if it's like super close to Stitch North, that might not make sense for me to drive over there. But if it works out, I do want to do that. I don't think I have any Biscornu patterns, so I will have to either look for one or maybe a free one. I'm assuming to prep for that if we're going to learn how to put them together during the retreat. So if you have any favorite Biscornu patterns, put them in the comments below, especially if they're free, but I will take whatever. Let me know what your favorite Biscornu is. Okay, so for stitch alongs that I know of so far for 2023, I am planning on doing the Modern Folk Embroidery 2023 Sal. This is, of course, hosted by Jacob. I've seen people start this already. I'm like, I didn't know we were breaking the rules, but that's okay. You're the boss of your own stitching. For me, I'm waiting until 2023. This is the pattern. I got my paper copy from Evertote, which I'm glad I did because, I mean, I could have printed it all out. Pattern Keeper is handy, but the Pattern Keeper, you usually get the booklet and a Pattern Keeper version when you get Jacob's charts. The Pattern Keeper version is only the original. And so this is the chart where there's extra insides that you can buy. And also there's different modifications. There's 2 different versions that you can do. And so there's lots of different modifications you can do. And so the Pattern Keeper is just the original. And so you would need the paper reference anyways. And I have chosen Leo and Roxy floss. And my flosses are, the taupe color is Amaretto. And this bluish green color is Seize the Day. And I'm super excited for these. I love them. And I am stitching it on Roxy Floss Coat Porcelain. And I am primarily a 40 count stitcher, but I chose 36 because I knew this was going to be a lot of stitching, and I wanted it to be stitching that I can see without wearing readers over my glasses if possible. So I am excited for that. I did work on, so this is my Needlework Press Book of Days for 2023. I have a video about how I modified mine based on a spin-off of Colorado Cross Stitcher, who I got my book from already coiled this year. I did go back to Office Max and I got a bigger coil. They actually gave it to me for free. He said if they don't coil it themselves, they don't have a way to charge for it, which was super nice. So I will definitely be going back there for help with this in the future. So anyways, I was pulling up. So I made a copy of the chart inside the stitch along chart. And I made it on my copy paper that I have with the binding punches. And then I put like number 1, number 2, and then like for the middle, I'm actually going to try, like there's different insides depending on what circle you pick. I'm going to try doing 1 in each corner. So really switching things up and making it kind of crazy. Thinking a little outside the box. So I made a copy for my draft, and then I made a copy for like what I actually end up stitching, so I can kind of document that along the way. I did decide to print a copy of the blank cross stitch paper that Jacob put in that pattern for us for any modifications that we need to make. And then I made another copy that I can put in my project bag if I don't have this handy, just to keep notes on it. So my next stitch along is There Is Always Room. So Lori Sykes is starting this stitch along, and it is for Ellen's chart. Ellen of Maximum Cross Stitch. Her cross stitch designs go to 11, she claims, and I agree that they do. This is the chart, There's Always Room. Mine was signed by Hannah. I got this at the Evertote workshop the day that it was released. There's an errata, so make sure that you get that. I think if you buy the PDF online now or from the paper from Evertote, you will get the errata with it, but I just had to request that special because I got it before there was errata. This is the floss pack. It's a doozy. There's a lot of colors. I don't know that there's quite that much stitching. I think I'll have quite a few colors left over. Or quite a bit of floss left over, and then I am stitching this on, I don't remember what I picked. Is it my tag still on it? Oh, it's right here. 40 count Dirty Porcelain. So I will be doing that start along on the 1st, and we will see how that goes. I have this kitted in the Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch based bag. She did a tutorial unboxing. She released it on Boxing Day. I made my version with Blackbird fabric. It's got a magnetic closure, which was the first time I've done that. That was a really great experience. I learned a lot there. Elizabeth's inside has vinyl project bag on one side, on this side, and then just a fabric pocket like this on this side. I actually made mine so that there's a pocket behind 2 bags, and my goal or my hope was to put 2 projects in, and that seems to be working pretty well. And that next project I will talk about in a little bit. So I'm loving that bag. So that hashtag is There's Always Room for Another Sal. Thank you, Hannah from Evertote, for coming up with that clever hashtag. And so you can follow along on that hashtag through Instagram. C is for Coffee is a Stitch with Caroline that's being released, or not being released. It's shipping from Evertote in January with a start date of February 14th. This is another one that's much like the holiday countdown Sal, where Caroline will be stitching and updating, and actually she's done a lot of start alongs, but she's committed to like stitch this along with us. And and it's quite a small chart. I think it's like 80 something by 80 something. And it is C is for Coffee is a Heartstring Samplery chart. And it's adorable and I love it. So I'm excited for that. I don't know if there's a hashtag for that yet. I'm sure there will be. And then, of course, speaking of Evertote, if they have Caroline has said they're planning or thinking they're going to do a 2023 holiday countdown, I'm in for whatever Advent holiday thing. They did such a phenomenal job this year. I loved every minute of it. The bonus surprise at the end was amazing. You'll see that in a second. So I'm all in. So those are all of my stitch alongs that I know about for now. I'm sure more will get added in as we go. For 2023 goals, I am going to do 23 and 23. So the goal is to have no more than 23 whips at any one time throughout the year. I do want to focus on finishing my whips. I've talked about this before, but I struggle with, I want to stitch all the pretty shiny new things, and like I want to touch the things that were pretty and shiny and new but are now like sitting in my whips, and they're still pretty and beautiful, they're just not new anymore, and like I want to stitch on them. So I'm working on that balance, and so that's how I'm hoping to do that. My other goals are to stay up to date with the Modern Folk Embroidery 2023 Sal. We'll talk about 2022 in a second. I don't want 2023 to end up like 2022. So I love Jacob's charts. I've stitched quite a few of his pieces. I have quite a few more patterns. I enjoy the 2020, the yearly Sal environment, or, community. I know that if I don't finish it in the year or close to the end in the year, it's gonna get lost in the shuffle of the new things. So I really want to focus on staying up to date with that. I did do the math, and it's like 130 stitches a day. So completely doable. If you stay on it and you don't let it languish too long without stitching. I do want to finish my Modern Folk Embroidery 2022 Sal that I started last January. I think it was on the 10th. I will show that because I've been working on that. So I'll show that when I show you my whips. I also have 4 other projects that will count as my 23 finishes that I want to have. I don't know if that's doable. I had 17 finishes in 2022, so I'm thinking like 6 more. I can do some smalls. I think 2023, it's a fun play on the year. I think that's doable. So I'll show you the projects that I want to get done that I'm not going to show you as far as like whips or like in the moment plans. The first one, and I'll have to put up a picture of this one, I don't have the chart in front of me, is Isabella's Heart. That's how far I am so far. I'm getting most of the red in. I'm about ready to start on the border and then do the fill-in and the color and then get the birds on the side. So my hope, I don't know if I'll meet this goal, but my hope is to get this done or close to done before the new February 14th stitch along, because I started that in February last year. I just have this, so is it inappropriate or Fallow Red? I feel like I look every time. It's Fallow Red, Antique Wedding Dress, and Flamingo are the 3 Roxy Floss Co colors. And I'm stitching on this on 28 count 2/2. So it's a pretty easy stitch. I had a little bit of trouble getting the heart counting right, but I think now that I have the heart in, the rest should go pretty quick. And because it's big stitches, it's easy to take on the go. My next one is Rejoice Evermore. This is one that I will also have to put the picture in for. This is I branded Gervais with I Needle and Thread with Ellen's conversion to Leo and Roxy. And these colors are gorgeous. I love Leo and Roxy floss. I notice a difference stitching with Leo and Roxy, or Roxy Floss Co. now, and stitching with DMC. It's almost like stitching with silk. And I can even tell some of the colors, depending on, like, I don't know if it's like the materials she has to use for certain colors to dye it or the conditioner. Some of the colors are like so shiny and smooth, it's like stitching with silk. So, or very similar at least. So I'm loving this piece. I love the birds and the colors are amazing. This is how far I am. A little bit of the border, start of the birds with one tree on one side, and then the house is started. And this only a couple, maybe two days, 1 or 2 days of stitching. So definitely more to do there. This is 46 count porcelain, 1/2. It's a lot of fun, and I want to get back to it and hopefully finish it in 2023. My other one that I want to finish in 2023, because I love it and the sentiment behind it, is Ink Circles Dog's Declaration. I always call this Pursuit of Squirrels because that's what it says, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Squirrels. I talked about this in my whip parade. I'm stitching this in memory of my Yorkie that passed away in May. Her name was Ava. She was a doll. She's amazing. And I am stitching this over one strand over one piece of linen on 25 count forbidden fiber fabric. So that is how far I am so far. This is my one project that I stitch not in hand but in a Q-snap with, and then I have a frame to hold it so that I can stitch two-handed and make it a little faster. I love it. It takes that a little bit of extra effort to get my frame out and set up, and so I just tend to not gravitate to it, but I love the pattern. I do like stitching on the 25 count. I just can't. I've tried sewing in hand. It doesn't look as nice as when I sew it in a frame, and I think it's just because of the angle that you're pulling when you sew in hand. It's easy to get the floss to slide between the pieces of linen. Okay, and then my last one that is, well, I mean, there's others that I talked about, right? The 2022 Sal, but my last other whip that I have wanting to be done in 2023 is Nevermore by Leela Studio. This is my conversion based on Caroline's conversion to Roxy Floss Co. I'll show you the floss colors. Sorry, this is wrinkly and floppy, but that is how far I am so far. That bird is great for retreat stitching, which is why I got him all outlined first. If you want my floss conversion, I can let you know. It's a slightly different from Caroline's. My bird is stitched in Cousin It, which is like a really great like black to blue variegation, which I really feel like plays on like how the coloring of a crow and how when their feathers like hit the light just right, they kind of look a little blue. And that is 1/2 on 40 count. Picture this plus French vanilla. I think I wrote French linen, but I'm pretty sure it's called French vanilla. Oh, I have the little tag here. Hold on. Yeah, French vanilla. So I got that fabric at my local needlework store. All right. So another 2023 goal is to track my stitching daily. What that looks like for me, I am not good about, especially because I don't exclusively use Pattern Keeper. I don't really count stitches or even time. I just keep track of what I've been stitching, and I think it's going to help me with Flosstube in the future too, so that's another reason why it's important. But I just use my book of days, and in the monthly view I write what I stitched on that day. So this is what December looks like so far. And I flipped away from my notes. Okay, here we go. And then as far as Flosstube goals, my plan is hopefully a video every 1 to 2 weeks. 2 weeks feels like a little bit of a while to kind of catch you up on all of my stitching and haul. Every week seems maybe a little much, so I'll kind of feel it out. I haven't gotten into a rhythm yet, at least with my life, where I know that, you know, on whatever day of the week is my filming day, and then I'll edit and get it up kind of thing. So I'll try to work on something a little bit more consistent for you all. But I always get excited when my favorite floss tubers put up a video whether I'm expecting it or not. So, and I get disappointed. Like Brenda and Laura, I love them. I look forward to their video every 2 weeks. When they skip a week because of like a retreat or something, and then they're not back for a month, I start to miss them, and it makes me sad. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys doing that, but I miss you when you're gone. So I'm trying to be a little bit more flexible for that reason. Okay, so New Year's new starts. Some people are doing like Katie from Making Things with String. She is doing the modification of 12 and 12. I think Carrie from Roxy Floss Co., she talked about doing 12 and 12 on Christmas. I'm curious to hear how that went for her, but the premise is you have 12 new starts in 12 hours. So every hour you start a new project. I imagine that it takes a ton of work to get those kitted and ready to go. Like that, you gotta squeeze in your food and your bathroom breaks and stretching and all of that kind of stuff in there. I won't be doing that this year. We always, most of the time I should say, we have guests come to celebrate New Year's with us, some close friends. So I won't have the opportunity to do that, which is totally fine. So I plan to do what I can while they're here and then start my New Year's stitching once they leave on New Year's Day. And then I have the day after New Year's because it's on the holidays on a weekend. Monday is our holiday at work. So I plan on doing quite a bit of stitching on the 2nd. So as far as my new starts, There's Always Room, Ellen's Chart, Modern Folk Embroidery 2023, of course. I talked about in my WIP parade whether or not Dream of Winter Garden, which was the Modern Folk Embroidery bonus chart that goes along with all of our flosses that we got in the holiday countdown, whether that was a start. One very smart commenter said, if it's meant to bless your stitching and kind of ward off evil spirits as far as the frog and all of those things, I wouldn't chance bending the rules, is essentially what she said. And she's right. So Dream of Winter Garden, I counted as a WIP for December 12th. And even though I just have one strand of floss in it, and so I may or may not work on that as a part of my New Year's stitching, but it is going in the WIP pile, and I want to get working on that this winter. Turkish Delight is something that I've had kitted. I finally got it kitted fully last weekend or earlier this week, meaning like I got the linen cut and the flosses wound and cut. It's gorgeous. It's so pretty. I love the colors. I've shown it before. This is Roxy Floss Co. Carrie's conversion of Turkish Delight. Quite a bit different colors. This is the pattern, and she modified the colors so that they would show up better and kind of bring in the spirit of this Turkish Delight with this really bright linen on a more neutral linen. So the teals and the blues and then the purples, like it's my jam. I really want to start this. I'm afraid I'm going to start it and then not be able to give it a lot of attention because of the getting going on the 2023 sal, wrapping up my 2022 sal, and my next project that I want to talk about. So I'm like torn about starting it and then not paying attention to it, or just starting it and enjoying the little bit of stitching I can with it. So that one has question marks around it. And then my last start for New Year, New Start is my original plan for my blessing sampler, which I'm going back to, which is Emily Ann Foster 1892. So it's the Hands Across the Sea that I got kitted from Hoop and Frame. So I have, it came with Fuller's Teasel. I think it's Excess Commodities that dyes this. I'm not sure. It's a 38 count linen. And then it came with 2 colors of Soie d'Alger. They are Shell Pink Very Dark and Shell Pink Light. So 0946 and 2946. And then it came with a little piece of felt and 2 beading needles. I am going to try my 28 count Sullivan's ball tips to see if they work with the silk as well. So I still need to get this kitted, the fabric cut and serged to the right size, and then the floss on floss straps before I start that on the new year. So that'll be something that I work on. This chart is 119 by 128. So it's not huge. The final design on 36 count is 6.61 by 7.11 inches. So mine will be a slightly smaller than that with 38 count. I don't know. I was going to try to look online to see how many stitches it is, so I can kind of pace myself or kind of know that I'm on the right track. The pages look fairly consistent as far as the amount of stitches on them. It's an alphabet with borders, and then her name and like a motif at the bottom and like a bigger border. There are 1, 2, I'm just trying to see. Okay, so she does start the page count with the actual chart. So there are 8 pages. So if I can do 2 pages every week, I should be on the right track to finish in January. So if you haven't heard of a blessing sampler before, I think I first heard about it from Nicola, who is the designer, one of the designers for Hands Across the Sea samplers. The idea of a blessing sampler, and I don't know how old of a tradition it is, but the thought is that you start a sampler and complete it the first month of the year. So you have to start after January 1 or on January 1, and then complete it by February 1st. And then it blesses your stitching for the rest of the year. So this will be my first Hands Across the Sea, and it will be my first red sampler too. So I'm excited for those milestones, and for it to be a blessing sampler as well. Okay, let's see. I think we might be ready to switch gears. Yes. So I have a long-awaited finish to show you that I promised you on Boxing Day. I finished on December 25. I promised to show you on Boxing Day, and then I didn't. So I'm going to show you right now. It is my Modern Folk Embroidery Evertote Roxy Flasco Holiday Countdowns Advent Sal. And here it is. And I love it. It's gorgeous. All those colors. They're great. I'm excited to have this floss pack for future Christmas stitching. I did snag a few of my favorite flosses as they were released. So there's still some in the Evertote shop the last I looked. But as every week or so, they released the previous week's colors, any extras that they had. And I snagged a few. I really wish I would have snagged Rudolph, but I didn't get any. It sold out super fast. I don't think they had a ton. But yeah, so I think I'll even have enough. So for the Dream of Winter, I didn't show that. Dream of Winter is another one that I'll be working on in the next few months. This is the bonus chart, and the idea was that you would use your Roxy Floss Co. The countdown floss to make this work. And if you ran out, you figured out something else kind of thing and just kind of planned ahead and kind of winged it. I did change my palette a little bit from what was called for to do the teals that more closely match the cover as opposed to the more greenish, like silver colors that were called for the greens. I'm really excited to get going on this, as evidenced by having to put a strand of floss in it. And what was really exciting is because I got 40 count, and when Evertote kits, they kit the same size fabric for everyone. So a 28 count is going to get usually just enough for 3-inch borders on your project. But me as a 40 count primarily stitcher or a higher count stitcher, I tend to have more fabric because I get the same size piece of fabric, but my actual stitch takes up less room. So my one piece of panettone got me all I needed for the countdown sal and this piece of linen, which I'll have some tight borders, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna make it work. So I really did get to reuse everything, which is really fun. Even the needle went from my other project right to this one. So, and I'm reusing the bag that I held it all in. So all right, so I do have the frame that I think I'm going to use for this. I just haven't taken the time to lace it because it does take me probably 2 or 3 hours to measure it, put the borders in, baste the borders on so I know like how to position it so that it's centered, and then to actually do the lacing and getting it in the frame. it takes a little while. So I've been wanting to focus on other things. So I do want to get that fully finished, but I feel like I gotta get my 2022 Sal under control. So the other stitch that has been a work in progress for me, this was my Christmas start, but it was like my Christmas break start. So I started this my last day of work before I had time off for Christmas. And I'm so excited to see it again that I forgot to show you the pattern. So let me grab that first. This is Heartstring Samplery Hibernation Day. Give you a little bit more of a close-up of the pattern elements. This is based on a Jars of Clay song. And Caroline from Evertote is stitching this with her Roxy Flosco conversion. It's very simple. It's a really cozy stitch. It's quite straightforward. And I'm just loving the colors and everything about it. This is on a specialty cut Panettone piece because of the shape of it. So I got the 2 bottom borders done, and then I'm working up the left side to get to the house so that I have fill-in for later. But I am enjoying every second of this stitch. This is 40 count Panettone 1/2 strands of linen. And it makes me happy to work on it. I haven't worked on it in the last 2 days, and like, I'm enjoying my 2022 Sal. I'm enjoying the progress and the challenge of like the competition of getting as much as I can in every day. But then I also sit there and think about how much I want to be stitching on Hibernation Day, because I'm worried that once like Christmas season is over, it's gonna fall by the wayside. I do want to try to have this done for Christmas next year. We'll see how that works out. And I have this kitted in my Evertote 12 Days of Christmas bag. This was a bag from a few years ago that Caroline had some extra fabric of, and she put in the shop, and her and Daniel got them put together this holiday time. So it came a few days before Christmas, which was a great surprise. And then these are my Roxy Flosco colors. And then I've got, this is a Bendy Flip by Bags Plus that fits these cards quite well to kind of just leave them hanging like this. So it works well for a project that's relatively small. It's got just a few strands of floss, or colors of floss. Okay. And then my only other whip to show you, because I've been intensely stitching on it, is my ModernFolkEmbroidery 2022 stitch along. I converted it all over to Pattern Keeper earlier this week, and then I had been stitching it in Pattern Keeper as the months came out. On December 1st, when December's pattern came out, Jacob released the entire chart with a Pattern Keeper version as well, which I put into Pattern Keeper, and I marked off all of the stitches that I have done so that I could see really realistically what I had left. And I think when I started, I have it on paper here, it was like I was 70, where'd my paper go? I was 70 some percent complete. Here it is. So I started at I didn't write down my percentage the first night. So on the 28th, I started with 23,429 stitches complete out of 31,181 stitches, which I think left me with 7,752 stitches left to go. So that was 75.14%. When I stitched 1,299 stitches the evening of the 28th after work, which put me at like, I think it was, I didn't write the percentage down, it was 79.3 stands out in my head. I have an Instagram post about it, so I couldn't believe, like, I was like, did I do that right? Because I had, you know, marked all my stitches from that day that I had completed like throughout the whole year, and then I had to like write down and then, you know, do the math and stuff. I'm like, that can't be right. I'm like, but I did the math a couple times and it was right. So I was a little like skeptical when I sat down last night, a little later than I normally do, to start stitching. And then last night I got 1,054 stitches in. So I'm at 82.68%, and I have 5,399. I only have 2 or 3 days left of the year. right? No, 2 days left of the year, so it's not gonna get done, especially knowing what I have going on this year. I mean, these next couple days, but I've made some pretty decent effort, and I feel like I've kind of got to the point where I can push and get done in January sometime. So I'm gonna have to show it in pieces. This is my border. This is part of the reason why I have so much left, is because I stitched the border one of these sets too far and realized it after I'd gotten down all of my January, February, March, April page. And so I had that whole page done before I realized that I was in the wrong spot. So I had to pick it all out and then restitch. And so that's why I'm only that far there. But I have all of the months complete, except for, so September is here. October is this side of this main center tree of life, and then November is the other side. So I got all the birds done last night. That big, the flower at the bottom, the girl carrying the water, and I started in on the heart that kind of matches this heart down here, but it has more of that Frisian stitch. So there's that heart, a similar heart, and then this Frisian stitch T down here, and then November will be done. And then for December, I'll have to finish this basket, and then there's a couple more baskets down below, and then of course the border. So I'm really close to finishing November, which in 2 days to get that close is impressive. I left the inside of this flower for fill-in, and that's something that, you know, that and the border is something I think I can stitch on while we have guests here, because I don't have to quite pay as close attention to it. I did, you know, I was being funny. If you'll remember, if you watched my last couple of videos, I was being weird about my last hank of floss from, so I'm stitching this on 32 count, 2/2, no, yes, 2/2. It's a Lugana with hand dyed by Rolanda Wintergreen. This is beautiful, like teal blue variegated floss, cotton floss. I finally broke in and wound, like cut my floss, my last hank, which I definitely needed. I waited until I had like 2 strands from the last grouping left, and then was like, okay, no, I really need to do this. So yeah, I've made some good progress on that. I'm excited to finish. It's going to be a big one. I'm probably going to buy, like, I'll have to measure it, and then my plan is to buy framing pieces and make them like I did my my frames that I showed for my three recent FFO. So this is Be Merry All by Park Hopper Blart. This is an Evertote exclusive for this holiday, and I made the frame for it. I bought the pieces at Lowe's. I cut them to size, glued them together with like there's a side piece here, like to act as the piece that, you know, holds your foam core in, and then I put I laced it, covered the back with craft paper, put a little hanger on it. The only last thing I need to do is put, so the sew-and-sews, she talks about how she puts little pads here to kind of help the frame sit completely upright against the wall instead of like leaning, because this part sticks out further than the bottom. So I need to do that and then find a home for it. I have had it sitting at on my chair side table as a part of my like Christmas Flossmas decorations, and so I need to like officially get that like up on the wall in a spot. But I sort of thinking about maybe I need an Evertote wall, and so I can move my Moonshine Cabin over to the wall behind me and then get that one on there, and then it'll be like a Evertote and Modern Folk Embroidery wall together, even though the 2022 Sal isn't Evertote. It doesn't have any Evertote pieces in it. They have a very close relationship, and in my mind, Leo and Roxy, Evertote, and Modern Folk Embroidery are like the trifecta. Like, they're perfect. They're my favorite combination. So yeah, I think that was all for whips. I did talk about last time that I would work on Tree Topper, which is my Satsuma Street ornament. I didn't, because I've been so focused on Modern Folk Embroidery. So I'm not super worried about that one. I just need to finish it before I want to start another ornament probably. So like that's not a huge deal. I do have a little bit of haul. If you participate in the Roxy Floss Co. Floss of the Month Club, and the Bestitch Me Fabric of the Month Club. And you don't want any spoilers because you haven't received yours. Now would be the time to look away. I'm going to show them. So my fabric, I get Bestitch Me 40 count linen. It's an 18 by 27 piece. I'm in the neutral club, and this month's was honey. So this is really pretty, like orange hued. I think with the right colors it might just look kind of antiqued. It's a little bright for me as a neutral. I know a lot of people loved it. Maybe I'm just not seeing, I don't hate it. I just don't know how I'm going to use it. So maybe I'm just not seeing the opportunity. So if you have any like bright ideas for like what would look really good on this linen, let me know. Put it down in the comments. Give me some ideas. And then for the Roxy floss, let's see. First I have, oh, these are so gorgeous. So one of the, Evertote is really great about combining your orders and then refunding shipping if you have multiple orders. So don't be afraid if like you see something and you need to snag it before it's gone. Like you can keep ordering and they'll combine stuff as they're able to. So these are the colors that I got from the holiday countdown. This brown one is not. This one is one that was just released. I think it was a Flosstube color. It was Common Currency, but I am working on a couple conversions that I haven't started that I needed some like brownie gold colors. So I grabbed that one as an extra. I had one, but I grabbed an extra one. And then this is 'Tis the Season, nope, not Seize the Day. 'Tis the Season, Sea Salt is the light teal. And On Holiday. I love On Holiday. On Holiday is that pink color. I'm trying to remember. I think On Holiday was the floss that I don't think they had initially. Am I thinking of the right one? Maybe not. I thought On Holiday was the first red that came out. Anyways, so I'm excited to have those. Those will go in my collection for completing different Christmas pieces. That Erica Michaels that came out this year with it, where it's like December. Lindy Stitches stitched it, was really smart, and she like stitched the December border and then she stitched each number each day as a countdown. Super smart. I wish I would have thought of it. I got that at the Jingle Ball. That piece I think would be great with these colors as a conversion, the reds and the greens. Okay, so I do the Roxy Floss Co. Monthly Floss Club Neutral and Bright collection because I have FOMO and like what if I like the colors from the other one. Anyways, so this is the neutrals. We have Statuesque, Nobel, like maybe Nobel Prize. Roses Are Gold, kind of like a rosy gold color. Irony, like irony, haha, it's ironic. And then Ampersand is this like black variegated color. It's pretty. And then the brights look like we've got some hand-painted floss. So this is a little reminiscent of Sully, if that one was one that you loved before. So this pink is Bing. The solid tonal purple is Saturn. Thistle While You Work is this purple variegated one. This teal one that also looks hand-painted is Icicle. It's like, actually it's not teal. I take it back. It's like mint. And then the white is Snowcap. So another great set of colors there. All right, so that is the extent of my haul. I have a pack of 10 size 10 John James beading needles as like my backup to the beading needles that came in my hoop and frame kit as the backup to my 28s that I want to try to use my my ballpoint Sullivans for my silk stitch. But I didn't figure I'd show you that. And then of course my project bag is this haul. I made it myself, but I love it. I bought different gauge vinyl than I have used in the past. I had to go out and buy new vinyl because I was out, and I really like the feel of this vinyl. I just got it at Joann. It just has like I think it's just a little bit thicker than the piece that I had before. So I'm enjoying this a lot. I can't wait to actually get to use it. For the inside, I didn't have the Bosel foam that she referred to. I have fusible foam, but it's, I think, thicker than the Bosal, and this one, where did it go? This project folder was made from the foam, and it's nice. It's sturdy, but it's a little bit maybe too thick, I felt like. So I wanted to try using, it's like, I don't know what it's called. I bought it for something. It's like this super hard felted almost, fab wool cotton. I don't know what it's, polyester. And so it's like super stiff interfacing, like you can't fold it or you'll crease it kind of stuff, which actually it folds really well once you put a stitch in it. So adding those stitches in here helped it fold over. So anyways, I like the thickness and like the firmness of that interfacing. But I did order some of the Bosal that Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch recommended for the next project folder, because I am still, so I don't have a project folder. So I put, sorry, back up. 2023 is in my 2022 MFE folder. I have Turkish Delight, and There's Always Room in here. I still need to kit There's Always Room, as in make working copies and get my floss cut. And do my fabric, and then I don't have a project bag for Emily and Foster unless I go to my Forbidden Fiber bag stash and pull one out. So I'm actually staring at a Harry Potter bag that I made myself over there too that I could use for it. It just doesn't feel as festive to use a Harry Potter bag for an antique sampler. So at the end of the day, I'm hopefully only going to have this for a month and it's going to get done. So, all right. I am going to go. Thank you so much for hanging with me and watching, listening to my plans. Thank you for coming back or for visiting if you're new here. Follow me on Instagram. Like and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I don't know when I'm going to get this up. Our friend should be here very soon. I'm hoping that I don't think I have a ton of editing that I need to do, so I might just hit upload, add my end and beginning cards on, and call it good. I think I do have a few details to add, so I'm going to hopefully try to get that up today or tomorrow so that you have all of the weekend stitchy time to do all of your whip parade and planning watching from all of your favorite Frosstubers, hopefully me included. So I will be back in the new year with updates on how my new year starts are going, and hopefully with a finish for my Modern Folk Embroidery 2022. We shall see. I hope you're well and have a great new year. Take care.